All right, Mr. Bob, here is FS3. So in the training sequence, FS3 talks about the relationship FS and AS. So you have to show a couple of things in AS as well as FS, so make sure you have both open. And then it also talks about the FS calendar. Okay, so I'm going to start out in AS, and I have AS open right here. So a couple of things that you want to be able to show is the school-only locations, because they do need to be linked over to the FS location. So you log into school-only, go into Setup Preferences, go to the Locations area, and you just need to be sure that the locations have a matching locations in FS. So if, for example, the ballroom isn't showing a location, you can come into Edit, and then link it to an FS location. So find a ballroom, find a ballroom. Do I have a ballroom in here? So this location needs to be cleaned up a little bit. I don't actually have a ballroom. So if you don't see the ballroom on this list, you're going to need to let them know to add in the facilities area. Let's see. I have Gateway School Basketball Court. Let's see if that one's in here. Gateway School Basketball. Gateway. Yeah, well, a lot of people seem to be using this training site. As you can tell, I need to clean it up. I'm going to show you one that I just did because I know it's in there. Charms Classroom, and then I added in a Charms Classroom, my inner Harry Potter nerd coming out. But you just need to be sure that they link whatever their location is in AS to a corresponding location in FS. And this doesn't mean that they both have to be named the same thing, but as long as they both are named something similar so that people can book it out, that'd be great. Okay, hold on one second, Bob. Having some problems here. All right, sorry about that, Bob. I think I fixed it. So you just need to make sure that they map their locations to the FS locations. And that's really all you need to show in the school-only location mapping. So I'm going to go exit out of here. And then you just need to show them that they can also add location detail in define activity parameters. So you go into setup, go to the define activity parameters area, and it will show the home location, and then it'll show the location detail. So you can go into a particular sport. I was just adding a Tiddlywinks season, so I'll do that one. Whenever your home location is you, or you can set it for whoever, I guess, but I'm going to set it for the Gateway because that's me. Whenever it's Gateway for School for Performing Arts, my home location is going to be the Charms Classroom for Varsity. And if I have a freshman team, whenever my home location is the Gateway here, my location detail will also be the Charms Classroom. They'll play at different times. So they can set it up here just to save themselves a little bit of time. So I'll hit save and exit. And then you will want to mention that now when they log into the calendars, they'll be able to see a conflicts tab. So if you go to non-conference, you'll see this conflicts tab here. Any conflicts that might show between FS and AS will show on this calendar. When the programs are checking for conflicts, it will always check for conflicts within AS first, and if it gets past that filter, it'll check for conflicts in FS second. But in the non-conference and conference areas, you'll be able to see the conflicts. It does have a separate tab for conflicts. In the school only, when you're scheduling there, it will just pop up a conflict when you try to schedule. And I'll show you actually what that looks like. Let me go to the control panel in school only. If you were to schedule an event, and I know that I have a conflict already, so I'm just going to add this in here. So if you schedule it for the 31st, and I'm going to do Charms Classroom at 3:30. So I can hit save and exit here. And it's going to bring up the conflicts. It already conflicts with a Melinda blackout date that I have in FS. You can print the conflicts here. You can save with conflicts. Remember in the general settings in FS that we talked about before, it does say if you want AS to be able to save with conflicts. So if you save with conflicts, it'll notify facilities manager. If you don't want to save with conflicts, you can go back without saving and change your date. So that's what I'm actually going to do. I'm not going to save anything with a conflict. And then when you're in the calendar, in all three areas, you'll also see this new box for custodians and maintenance staff. This is so that you can set up the setup and teardown times. You can either show them to the public or not and add in your approximate attendees. This is the information that links over to FS for your activities. So in the school-only calendar, it's a box right when you're adding in the information for a single activity. If you go to recurring activity, let me get out of here. If you set up a recurring activity, it will also show you the custodial and maintenance box right underneath location. And then when you're in the non-conference and conference calendar, it's actually a link and not a box. So if you wanted to set up another game for football, it's this setup and tear down right here. When you click on it, it'll open up. You'll be able to see the FS information that you need to here. And one of the other things that you can do in AS, now that you're connected to FS, is you can autofill the locations when scheduling, so it'll fill down to all of the levels. But that works here when you're in the non-conference area if you're scheduling all levels. So if you were to show all levels here, you could add in a new game for all levels and then fill down in the location here. So if I edit all of them, for example, it will show me the location for each of the levels. So if all of the levels are going to play at the same place, I can add in my location. So this is gateway. Where did my gateway go? Gateway here. My location detail is wherever they're going to play. And then I can use these fill downs. Oops, location detail went away. To fill down the location everywhere. So this is if they're going to play all of their levels for this football schedule at the same location, then you can take advantage of that. Sometimes this is beneficial to clients, sometimes it's not, because sometimes they all play at different locations. You can still show it to them in case they need it, because it is part of the training sequence. And that's actually all you need to show in AS. Now you can get into the FS program and just show what the differences are now that you have AS and FS linked. So you can go into the scheduling area. I'm sorry, I want to show a different screen so it'll show me here. You can go into the scheduling area and you'll see that it shows AS as a client. So you can either show all and it'll show your whole list, or you can just go to the A's and it'll show activity scheduler as a client. So you can check out the reservation history, see everything that is scheduled under AS that's been added to your FS calendar. And one thing to note for them is anything they schedule in AS will automatically write over to the FS calendar. But the items that they schedule in FS don't necessarily always write over to AS. They get to make that distinction on their own. Okay. So I'm going to create an activity in FS just to show you how we would write it over to AS. So I'm going to add a new activity. I'm the activity scheduler client, the department. I can choose an existing name. So all of my items are in here that I've already used, but I'm just going to put in a new activity because I want to be able to locate it quickly. Then I can put in who the contact person is if I want to. I can bypass the invoicing screen because I don't need it for AS. I'm not going to invoice AS. And then I can decide if I want to show this on the request review, this invoice. So I'm going to hit save and continue. Please add a contact for the client, of course. Okay, save and continue here. Okay, so then I can select my dates. I'm just going to select the 1st of September. My time is going to be 2 p.m. until 3 p.m. I'm going to add it to the queue so it stores down here below. If I needed to change it or delete it, then I could, or I could just do save and continue. And it'll show me that this activity now. So I can now include my setup and teardown if I needed to. So I need to set up starting at 1:30, and I'm going to clean up until 4. Okay. Oops, sorry. This was my start end time. Getting ahead of myself, Bob. You make me nervous even though you're not here. That's got to be a special skill. All right, so I meant to put 1:30 down in here. My apologies. And then I said until 4. There we go. Then I can decide if I want the setup and teardown times to show on the AS calendar or not. If I don't want them to show, then it just simply won't say that I'm in there prepping. It'll just show my time from 2 to 3. So then I'm going to hit save and exit for setup and teardown, and then I'm going to select my location. So I'm going to choose my building, and then I'll choose my location type, or I can simply show all available locations or show all locations. If one of the locations had some sort of conflict, when I select all locations, it'll show me a number here for the conflicts that it has, and it won't give me the select button. Okay, since I have no conflicts in any of them, I'm just going to select the first one and then I'll book it. Then if I needed to add equipment, I can. If there's extra charges I need to add, I can. If I have select setup notes, I can do it. If I know how many people are going to attend. And then in this area, in the public view, this is where I can say I want to put this activity on the activity scheduler. So I check off here, and I can decide if they can edit this activity from the AAS calendar. I'm going to say yes. Public comments, test activity for Bob's special training. There we go. Save and exit. And now we can either add more locations to this date. It can take me to the notification screen if I want to. I can cancel, I can delete, save and exit, save and continue, or save and jump to something. It's not going to take me to the invoice screen because I bypassed it on the first page. Since this is an AS option, it's just going to take me straight to the contract. I can save and send it electronically if I need to, or just save and exit. I'm just going to hit save and send. This person doesn't have a PIN number set up, so it's asking me to set up a PIN number and put it in email. I don't think I typed it in right. Okay, and save changes. Contact last name, okay. All right, save changes. Yeah, fine. Okay, so now my activity has been scheduled. If I go to the facilities calendar and I choose the Charms Classroom, check availability, it's going to show me on the 1st of September that I scheduled this activity, right? It's in there, it's scheduled. If I go back over to the activity scheduler, I can go into the public side and select September so that I can see September 1st. And here's Bob's SFS activity writing into AS. Right, so you just want to show them what it looks like when they're scheduling in FS and it writes over to AS, or when you're scheduling in AS and it writes over to FS. Just want to make sure that you do both. And then back in FS, you also want to show them some reports. They can run a report for all of the events that are writing to AS so they can see exactly what's going in there. You can also run client history specific for AS. So you can talk to them about that one. And then you can also run a conflicts report that will also show you specific to AS. And that covers all of the connections between FS and AS. So then you can get into showing them the calendar. I don't need AS open anymore, so I'm going to close that one. You can get into the facilities calendar tab here, and you'll be able to show them a couple of different things. So it'll show their building types, it'll show the actual buildings, and then you can show entire building. This was one of those setups that we had in the permissions. So you can default it to show entire building. Right now, I know with that client that you had before, you were trying to find a way so that it defaults to all buildings. Right now, it's just that shift and then down to highlight them all and then show the entire building, so it would show you everything. That's kind of the only way I know how to do it, but then it would show you all the different buildings. I'm not sure if you've already found a different location that way. And then you just want to show them in the Setup tab. There's two things in the Setup tab that you can update that reflect on the facilities calendar. So you can go to Requester Public Settings, and this is where you can put information in that they might need for when requesters are requesting to become a requester. And you also have an area for facility calendar views and public links. This is where you can get the link to your FS requester login screen, a link to a staff-only calendar, and a link to the public calendar. So if you wanted to share those in a newsletter or something like that, or use these to embed them to another site, you can do that from here as well. And then it has an option so that the requester can be looking at the calendar and immediately request a facility button. This is an option that you can turn on and off, kind of like the categories in AS. If you want them to show or you don't want them to show, this is where you would turn it on. I usually leave it turned on, and this is one of those things that I come in and set up to on before I train them, just because it makes it a little bit more user-friendly for the client, but you can always let them know that they could turn it off if they wanted to. So what that does is it allows you, when you go to the requester screen here, when you log in, and I'm logging in with one that I created earlier. When you log in, it lets you see this facilities calendar. If you don't turn that on, when you're setting up clients, then they won't be able to see the calendar and they won't have this request facilities button. So this is where I can check for availability, and now that I know what's available, I can immediately go into a request right from the calendar instead of having to get out of the calendar and coming to this tab here. So you can show them, this is a staff view because this is a person that I've set up as staff. You could log in as just somebody from the public and show them what it looks like for the public. And then you can also log in as an admin and show them the admin. And if you have anybody in the permissions section that you've set up as a custodian, just with that facilities report, then you can also log in and show them what the custodial view would be. So you just kind of create clients for each of the different areas, one staff, one public, and one custodian, and then you can kind of log into each one and show them exactly what they see. And then last but not least, the last thing you need to do is just start a permit from this public side, which you would do right here, so that you have that in process for the next session, which is dun dun dun, session number 4. So this friendly version of FS training number 3 has been brought to you by the letter F, and I hope you have a good rest of your Friday. I will try to get sessions 4 and 5 recorded for you shortly. Talk to you soon, Bob.